As parents, all we could do is lay foundation, right? And it's up to them to make the decisions after that.
Welcome to Fatherhood Voices, breaking the toxic cycle. Dive in as real dads bear all, the mess-ups, make-ups, and every heartfelt moment in between. It's raw, it's real, and it might just change the way you see family.
Welcome to another episode of Fatherhood Voices. And today I have a very special guest, someone that's been a friend for more than 25 years. I was going back and counting how long I've known him, and yeah, it's been since the 90s. Today, I wanted to bring him on because when I think of fathers and fathers that have done it right, I look to Tommy, and that's Tommy Dorsey, and someone that I had the privilege of getting to know, used to work with. And the foundation for him as a father, from what I've seen, watching things evolve, was just faith was a big part of him instilling with his children, and then also just always being present for his kids. And they were just like sports fanatics, and he was that I want to see that coach dad that just was always involved in stuff. And his kids went on to do great things in the sports industry. So without any further ado, Tommy, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's an honor. When you gave me a call, I was honored. I was honored that you felt that way about me. I didn't know. I didn't know. I've always, as a parent, we question ourselves. Are we doing the right thing? I think we talked earlier. Like, people see the outside optics, but they don't know the actual journey, the struggles. Even like kids, that journey is something else, man.
And we're excited to explore that journey, to now dive deeper into not just the perception on the outside, but the struggles, because from the outside, it looked like the perfect family, know? But we know that, like I said, sometimes it's just an illusion, because there are struggles and challenges along the way.
Yeah.
And what I want to do is, I guess we'll start back with little Tommy. And, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your upbringing and where you grew up and what your relationship was like with your parents, and especially with your father growing up.
Yeah. So I grew up in Diamond Bar with two parents in the household, which I thought was... they were there for everything. My dad was there for every event, even though he went out at night, which, my brother and I thought that was normal. My dad wasn't, he was always out. He'll come home late. We were called latchkey kids back in the day. Remember that term?
Yes. Explain to them what a latchkey
kid is. So a latchkey kid is, you come home, you go to school. Actually, we went to school. Our parents were at work. They'll go to work early in the morning. We'll get ourselves up, go to school, and walk to school, and then come back home. We have to, the key, let ourselves in. That's the latch key. We'll let ourselves in and do our homework, get our chores done, all that, and then go out and play. My parents would get home till about 6 or 7 at night, and that was normal to us. All our friends were the same way. We'd all meet up at the corner and then walk to school together. That we were latchkey kids. So both parents were in the house. Like I said, my dad will go out, but it's funny. My brother and I really think there was nothing wrong. We thought we had the perfect family. Thought everything was great. Because we were loved. We weren't lacking in anything. I'm spoiled. I played sports. Then I tried to play at the next level, which is college, and realize, I got everything. Like, you listen to other people's story, you're going, I was really spoiled. So that was my story. My relationship, my dad, man, we've had when my parents split up, I took to my mom's side. So we talked off and on, but I didn't really talk, right? And then I had little Tommy.
Now, let me ask you a question before, because you hit on a very important topic that we struggle with as fathers.
Yeah.
Is when the split happens. So when the split happens, and then the children take sides, and unfortunately, usually everybody sides with the mom.
Yeah.
looking back as little Tommy, and how old were you when this happened?
I wasn't little. I was just out of high school.
Okay, so even better. So you're
Yeah.
now in your teenage years,
Yeah.
going into young adulthood.
Yeah.
So, is there anything that your father could have done to help minimize the siding of going team mom versus team dad? Like, what, what caused you to go to team mom, and then could there have been a balance if you were in his shoes at that time?
The balance would be just keep contact. Make sure you're still around.
Okay.
Don't just get up and go. That to me, that should have been a balance. Don't get me wrong. He would have, if I would have called him at any moment, he would have came. I didn't find that out until later. So he left about 18. When we kept in contact, we kept talking, but it just seemed like it was just by phone or, and I would always have to do the calling.
So he wasn't physically there anymore, so it changed the dynamics.
Yes.
So that's important, fathers, because we sometimes punish our kids because of the relationship we have with their mother.
Yeah.
And sometimes because that anger or animosity towards the mother, it's taken out on the kids because you're pushing away from the mother, but at the same time, now the kids are left like, well, what about me? Like, I have nothing to do. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
your son or
Yeah.
I'm your daughter.
Yeah.
Why are you distancing yourself from me? So that's powerful. No, keeping in contact would have been something that would have showed you that you were still loved.
Yes. Yes.
That you were still in his thoughts. And it's unfortunate that sometimes we don't learn till later on when we have these uncomfortable conversations that like, no, Tommy, I was there for you. Just,
Yeah.
as children, we have these expectations on how we want to be loved.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfair because we look at movies and we look at TV shows and we see these perfect, father, mother, family relationship dynamics. Yep. And so in us, this programming is instilled in us that, this is how we should be loved. But that's not reality because our parents only love us the way that they know how to love us.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just it's almost like ancestral lineage. It's carried on from generation to generation.
And there's no owner's manual.
There's no owner's manual.
At all. There's no instructions that come with it, being a parent. And I look back at my dad, I should have called him because in his mind, and I learned this from I call them a second pair of Coop Riders. I call them a second set of parents. Like they don't want to call me because they believe I'm busy, and so they don't want to bug me. Is what they say. So I think that could have been my dad too. It's like he's living. If he needs something, he'll call me. I'm the same. I'm kind of like that with one of my boys. Where all right, let me just leave him alone. I'll probably call him but I just let me leave him alone because he's living, right? When he needs something, he'll call me, or if I really need to, I'll call him. But so in a way, I kind of okay, Dad. That's just the way my dad, and like you said, it's just the way he knew how to have a relationship.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah.
So now your dad's distant because now there's a separation, and so how does that show up for you now? You're young adulthood, you're a teenager. How does that impact your friendships, relationships? Does that have an impact on you?
I don't believe it did. I believe that they laid a foundation. Because I'm 18, 19, going to college. Foundation was laid. I was real selfish anyway, and I only went with my mom because my mom was, when you think about it, a lot of times we go with our mom because our mom is a stable one. My mom is the one that have the house, to have the same, my comfort zone. My comfort zone's with her right now, because now Dad's got to go pick up in apartment, change everything, right? Yeah. So, I mean, and this is only thinking back, This is one thing that then. So I believe a lot that's what happens is that kids stay with their comfort zone, meaning the whole environment, not just the mom, but the whole environment. Oh, I got my room. I don't have to move. He's just leaving. I'm staying with mom. You know, and mom paints a pretty the story though. But don't get me wrong, my parents, they should have split up 5-6 years earlier. My brother and I, we talked about that. They should have split it. They should have been gone. You know, and looking back at that time, that's my brother and I talked about. Excuse me, get a drink.
That's powerful. Let's make sure we clip that, because a lot of times as parents, we stay in for the children, but it's doing more damage than it is good. And there's fighting going on, and there's yelling and screaming, and the kids know, like, they want this to end, but yet in the parents' mind, it's like, no, we got to stick it out for the children.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you and your brother came to that realization that you knew, like, this should have ended 5 years earlier. So that's powerful, not only for fathers, but for mothers, that if it's just not working, then sometimes you're doing more damage to your kids by staying in the relationship.
Yes.
So sorry, I'll let you continue.
No, and so going on that, this is in Bible study. A question was asked: do I stay with my wife just for the kid? Is it more honorable to do that? My parents stayed together, but there was no arguing. They just did their separate thing. They slept in separate rooms. We thought that was normal because it was happening. That's just happened. We were still loved. But kid you not, there was no arguing, but there was no affection either towards each other. So we didn't see too much affection when it came to that towards them. But we saw togetherness when it came to raising us. So I don't want to paint that picture that there was a strife. So my advice to the guy who brought that up in Bible study was, because everybody else said, oh yeah, you got to stay together. I go, are you arguing? Are you guys, is it a toxic relationship? Now your kid's going to think that toxic relationships are normal. And I never want a kid to think that's normal. Mm-hmm. You know, the kid is always looking at what you do as a dad, about how you act towards your wife, everything you do. So I told him at the end, I said, what you got to do is, if you're in it, be all in and make sure you show your wife love. You come in the morning, you give her a kiss goodbye, you give her a kiss hello, you show her love, because he's watching everything. And when you guys eat together, be all in. If you're going to do it, be all in. But if you don't, he's going to show you, when he gets older, he's going to think that's normal. Now he's going to look for that relationship.
Wow.
So
that's, wow, you just dropped some serious knowledge and some great Instagram quotes. Like, just powerful, powerful takeaways for parents, especially if they're, trying to figure out whether to stay or not stay. Yeah. But while you're there, be all in.
Be all in.
I love that.
Be all in.
Love that. So now you're into adulthood, and now tell me about when you had your first child, or what things looked like as you found your relationship and so forth. And
so, back a little bit, my dad, my parents were at every event. Every time I look up, it's my dad and his friend Nick. They were always there. So, a little emotional. My dad's not here anymore. So now I have Tommy. It changes you from not being selfish. Now you got somebody you got to take care of. So you have somebody else you got to take care of. I think I was telling you that the way you're thinking, everything changes. The way you protect, the way you view TV, everything changes. I started getting emotional about TV. Like if I watch a program that have a kid or a dad, father, son, here I am. I'm like, I'm crying. What the heck is going on? It's because of this dude, this new life in my life. I was coaching wrestling at the time, and even the kids said, "Oh, you changed. You're soft." It happens, So yeah, Tommy was a change. Tommy got me to go to church. After my mom been trying to get me for years, Tommy got me to go to church.
How? So how did Tommy, how old was he that now you saw that church needed to be a pillar in your life?
So it makes you realize how blessed you've been. And like I said, it used to be, oh, I did this. But I have friends that we had the same life. They went this way. But I stayed this way. I didn't get in much trouble. God was watching over me. Here I am. He's giving me the opportunity to raise his child. So it just hit when he came that, hey, it's time for you to, because I got to lay a foundation, because my mom laid the foundation when it came to bring God in our life. Now, here I am. I got to lay a foundation because he's going to stray. I think everybody strays, but we all come back because we got to have someone to go to. And so that's how, he changed me.
I hope you're enjoying this week's episode of Fatherhood Voices, Breaking the Toxic Cycle. Now, we have a special gift for you. If you're enjoying the episode, you can go ahead and go to edwardrodardi.com/toolbox, and you can go ahead and request a summary of the podcast. Now, the neat thing about this is not only does it have the key takeaways and it gets straight to the core of the message of the podcast, but it also gives you some great takeaways along with some exercises that you can start to do in order to heal and rebuild the relationship with your children. So let me ask you a question. Is there anything your mom, so as your mom was trying to get you to go to church and instilling, faith as a pillar in your life, is there anything differently that your mom could have done as you were going into your young adulthood that would have shifted you to start your journey with the Lord sooner?
Nah.
No.
Because we were going early. We were going to Bible school. We were going early. So, no. She did what she was supposed to do. It was up to us to drink the water, so to speak. It was up to us to, all right, we got to start listening. Cause as parents, all we could do is lay foundation, right? And it's up to them to make the decisions after that. We kept making the decision to act up in church. I remember we were in church and we kept acting up, and then finally she said, "I'm not taking you guys again."
Wow!
Never had to go to church again.
Wow. So is that a strategy you used to get out of
we
church?
Didn't know.
We didn't know.
Cause every week we did the same thing. It was the same thing every week. We were hitting each other, But all right, we stopped going to church. She went though. She went. She prayed for us, and her prayers were the protection that we needed. She was consistent. I go to her church now. She's part of the reason why I give back. So yeah, she did her job.
Now, do you think by her finally surrendering and not allowing you guys to go, do you think that slowed the process of you going back to church, or you think it just kind of worked at the time? Because in retrospect, if she would have not given in and just, even if you guys were acting a fool in church,
it could, yeah, you're right. It could have. It could. But it's funny. I had the conversation last night of Bible study because I have a Bible study on Tuesday and Wednesday. And last night's Bible study was what takes us so long? Why do we all over, we're all over 50. Why did it take us that long? You know, we go through these, but I equate it to we all have God uses us to have testimonies, to be able to share these stories with each other. We all have to go through something so we could have a testimony. You know, to me, it's to rely more on Him. And so we all have our journeys, and we all just got to go through it. You know, trials and tribulations. God never said it was going to be easy.
And then when you say we, that was your brother? How many brothers?
I got one brother.
One brother. Okay.
Yeah, Larry.
No sisters?
No sisters.
Okay, so one brother. So.
Sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Okay.
He's not a church going.
Okay.
But he does believe. It's funny, as he's gotten older, he's slowly coming in. He goes sometimes. He listens sometimes to sermons on YouTube. So, but and the funny part about that is he sent his kids to a Catholic school. And they don't want to go to a church. They don't want to touch a church. Every time you mention it to them, they said, we've been to Catholic school. So, yeah.
Wow. You know, it's interesting you say that, you know, little Tommy, your son, your first son, is the one that kind of brought you to church. And, you know, as we've been doing these podcasts, it's the birth of a baby that's brought different things. It's stopped fathers from gangbanging. Mm-hmm. It's stopped fathers from addictions. It's the love of the child. Yeah. And now hearing this, it was your son that brought you to church. So, yeah, it definitely, the love of that pure soul, that love bundle of joy, purity.
Yes.
It causes us to step into...
it's like a focused state. Me, like you get focused on someone else, not just you. Like the gangbanger. Mm-hmm. Oh, my focus is now raising this kid. Absolutely. You know, addiction. You know, and it's hard to, you know, and I understand I don't understand what they go through, but I could. What is it? Empathy.
What's that?
Is it sympathize or empathize with
them?
Empathize.
Yes.
So I empathize with them. But it's that focus of that someone else. Mm-hmm. Like even when my kids go through some hard times, I said, don't focus on you. Try to focus on someone else, and you'll get through it. You know, like helping others, what I mean. You know, just, hey, go out and help somebody. Help a friend. There's going to be somebody in your life, you know, so you don't have to focus on this one problem all the time. You know, but like my kid, he helped me focus, and it kind of got me, all right, man, I need to go back to school. I need to go to church. I need to go back and get my degree. I need to get more focus on the career, all that.
Wow. How old was your father when you passed away?
How old was he?
How old were you?
It was in 2011.
Oh, okay, so it's just happened in the last 15 years. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I definitely want to get into that a little bit later, just how that kind of shaped you now as a father. So now you're a father, you have little Tommy, and what does life look like as a father? How old were you when you had Tommy?
Ooh, that's a hard one. 25, I think.
Okay, 25. Okay,
I think. It's tough.
We'll say the mid-20s.
Yeah.
So, so you had Tommy, and so you're a young father, and now he's showing you that, okay, church is important. Now you have to start to grow. You have to grow, you know, from an education standpoint, from a career standpoint, from just being a person, being a man.
Mentally, yes, being a man.
So now what does life look for you like as a new father, and as you're transitioning into fatherhood, and then when do you have your next son?
So we had Khalil 15, 16 months later.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, they're close. That one was tough. So for my second son, when he was first born, I didn't want to hold him because I already had one. How do I take love from him and love another?
Wow.
So that was my mental, what I was going through. So what Lucy did, what was a great thing, is she took Tommy one weekend, I think about 4 days, where I had to, just me and the Cleo and I. And let me back up. So I've always been around kids. I worked at a daycare. I've always had, even the youth program at for the wrestling. I've always worked with kids. So yeah, she left Tommy with me, and they went to the river. And after that, all right, they both, and with them, I took them everywhere. It was, if I'm gonna go somewhere, they're going to. I made sure, hey, we're going to park. Like, we're very active. We'll go ride it. Like, I will actually put them on my, little, what are those called?
Little rompers where you,
yeah,
tuck them in. Like,
I'll tuck them in. We'll go walking. If it's stroller, we'll walk. We'll do whatever. I always make sure we got out the house. I always had to get some type of sun. Always, hey, let's go out. So yeah, it was, and my friend that's a new dad, fairly new. His son is a year old now. He's in his 40s, and I had told him probably maybe 3 months ago, hey man, it's time to start taking your kid for a walk. What are you talking about? I mean, get home, don't just sit down, get up, take your kid for a walk, take your kid around the neighborhood. And sure enough, he started sending me videos of him taking his son for a walk, and he has his dang cat. I was like, man, get it. I don't like cats, but he keeps sending me pictures of his cat. And he goes, because his son, every time he sees a cat, it's a neighborhood cat. Every time he sees a cat, his son is just wants to pet him. So it started off in a stroller. Now his son's walking, and he's walking with him, and it just, to me, I always tell everybody, show your kid your passion. Have your kid with you everywhere you go. Everywhere, have them with you. I don't care if they cry, take them to church. Eventually, they're gonna be able to sit down and be quiet. Because that's what my mom did. Yeah, when it got older, we're able to make choices. We're able to, all right, why should she force us, right? We're able to make choices. She laid a foundation, and I think she knew eventually we'll come back. And that's like our kids is, I took my kids to church. They started off everywhere. I sat here, my wife sat on that side. We kept them in the middle, let them do their thing as long as they're quiet, jumping up and down. It is what it is, right? But eventually they learn to sit down and be in church. But if you don't take them to those environments, take them to the store, take them to get a haircut, take them everywhere, to me, they'll learn how to conduct themselves over time. It ain't easy.
Two things that really stuck out that I want to touch on. And the first one is the fact that you shared with your colleague about taking his son for walks. Do you realize that you just changed the dynamics of that relationship forever? Like, really stop and think that for a second. You've really changed how he's going to show up as a father. And that's powerful. So, definitely step back and show yourself grace, because you've now impacted the dynamics. And the reason I bring that up, and it makes me emotional, is because, as fathers, we live in this masculine. Mm-hmm. And men don't want to have talk about the soft things about children. It's always about sports, and it's about, just racing and all this bullshit stuff that I guess it's important. I'm not a sports person, but what's more important is family,
Yes.
and the mothers talk about the kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And we as fathers need to step up and start to embrace more fatherhood
Yeah.
and have those conversations.
Yeah.
So, I got to applaud you and commend you because you've really impacted. You've impacted just by that small shift of, hey, don't come home and just sit at home, but go ahead and take your son for a walk.
Yeah.
And that's going to now change the dynamics because he's getting to spend time with him.
Yeah.
They're bonding,
Exactly.
and that will lead to more growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that right there is powerful. So definitely, as fathers, we need to share our takeaways and best practices with other fathers and not feel like, oh, that's too much in the feminine and we shouldn't share stuff like that. No, because just that little shift, it's a 1 degree shift.
Yeah.
It's a 1 degree shift that shifts the difference between metal and melting. And it's a 1 degree shift. So that 1 degree shift, you've altered the dynamics of the relationship. So that's powerful. So no, I commend you for that.
Yeah.
Wow. I lost my other train of thought, so we're going to move on. But there was another powerful message, and then I'll come back to it. Okay, and the other thing was when you talked about Khalil and how a lot of fathers experience that when you have the love for one child and that's your only one, and then now the new child comes in, and I love that Lucy, mother of the children, your wife, took Tommy away so that you had no choice but to bond.
Yeah.
And by bonding, it now made you realize that there was enough love to go around.
Yes.
So that's powerful. And if there's any other tools or steps you could share about that process to learn how to love the second child, that would help, because that's something I've heard that a couple of times, but just as you mentioned it, it's now coming to the forefront that it is a problem.
Yeah.
It is a problem. And this is where favoritism comes in, because we see people that we help with journeying and so forth, and they're dealing with not having the love of their mother or father because they weren't the firstborn. So it's almost like the middle one always gets lost in the process, because then the final one comes, and then the middle one is a lost child.
Yeah.
So what are some other maybe things that could have done, besides her, forcing you to do it?
I think he's got to be self-conscious of what's going on. Like I knew in my mind something, and I'm glad she did it, but I knew in my mind, I got to create that bond. I see some strategy. I would think I think you got to just know what's happening. Know that you're, that you have those feelings. We all have them. I even had another friend who had his son at a late age too, and I'm a little bit off topic, but he called me. He goes, "Man," I go, "What? You losing sleep?" And he goes, "Yes." I go, "And you feel like choking him, huh?" and he said, "Yes." I said, "It's okay to have those thoughts." I felt like throwing my little dude out the window. I said, "But as long as we don't act on them, have a thought, let yourself know that a thought is there, and keep moving on, and know that you're the parent, and take a deep breath. If you got to walk out while he's crying, walk out while he's crying, and take a deep breath." I go, "But that's your son or that's your daughter." That was a funny night though, because he goes, "How did you know?" Because he's when I first said it, he was quiet and he hung up, and he called me back like 5 minutes later, and he goes, "How'd you know?" I go, "I had those same thoughts." But just know that you're having those thoughts I guess that's what I needed. The message is know that you're having those thoughts, but know that you got to create that bond the same way you did with the first kid or the third or whatever, however many kids. Make sure you create that bond, and make sure you're doing, like, just be conscious that you got to show them love. 'Cause that's all the kids want is love, and you do it at an early age, at an early stage, and you won't be that the kid won't feel left alone later on, if I'm making sense. So,
So now you have two children in the house, and so now the foundation has been church.
yes,
So every Sunday.
every Sunday.
Okay.
Before Khalil came in, remember I was telling my dad and I, we didn't really talk. So something hit me, and this is with Tommy, and that's what the relationship comes in too. Is I called my dad and said, "Hey, you need to come and see Tommy." And he was there right away. To see the joy that he had, 'cause now you got the three Tommies together. And that's when I said, all right, it's up to me to keep the relationship going with my dad. There's no, not going to call him. There's none of that. He's going to be involved. And he was. He was there for all my kids' events. When I was at work, he was at the school. He would go pick him up. He would play poker every week. I'll call him. Nah, man, I'm playing poker. And I didn't know this until after he passed. My kids would call him, Granddad, I'm hungry. Can I get some McDonald's? He would leave wherever he was at. Go get McDonald's, drop it off, go. I didn't know that. That's the relationship they had. That's what I'm glad that they had. So yeah, now, and so he was my model of showing love, and in the way that I can show it. Yeah,
That's powerful, because a lot of times when we're hurt as children, or even as adult children, it's the ego that steps in and doesn't allow us, because in order to start the process of healing, it takes somebody that has to now either control the ego or tame it enough to now reach out.
yeah,
And that's usually the reason that relationships don't heal, especially with children and their parents, is because they both have strong egos. They're both strong-willed,
Yeah.
and then nobody wants to give in. So just knowing that you saw, like, no, I wanted, my children to experience the love of their grandfather. And that was a big step, because you had to now put aside your hurt and your pain, your ego.
my ego.
And say, like, but it's bigger than me.
Yeah,
It's about my children.
yeah,
And that's powerful. And that's a message that I hope people take from that, is the ego, although sometimes it can serve us, but a lot of times it can work against us, and it can really damage relationships, not only with children, but with our significant others, with family and friends and so forth.
yeah,
Wow. And it's beautiful to now see that you were able to see that your kids had a whole different relationship with your dad that came to fruition afterwards.
yeah.
Wow.
It was a lot of great memories with my dad and the kids. He enjoyed every bit of them. Hindsight always 20/20, and just looking back, my dad would just go and let him play outside, and he would go get in a chair. He'd probably sleep, but he's there. You know what I mean? And we lived in a cul-de-sac, so he would just let them play, let them do their thing, and he was always around. They'll jump on him, and it was just like you said, that dynamic. It was great memories. My brother and I look back on both of our parents. My mom died a couple of years ago. Going to be on 2 years. We look back and like, man, our parents could see our kids now. My mom died of dementia, so she wasn't really able to mentally know what's going on with our kids, even though we'll talk to her about it. But it would have been great that she would see them, But like Pastor Dockery said, that she sees them, Yeah.
Now you said earlier that you didn't know till later on in life about how your dad wasn't reaching out to you. When did that talk happen, or how did it evolve that you guys had this talk and then you finally was able
And it wasn't
able
a
to hear
talk.
his side? It wasn't a talk.
It was not a talk.
Okay.
So that the whole me not talking to my dad situation, that was me. It was me that should have reached out. It was me that should have, hey Dad, what's going on? Like even with Coop Riders, what I was telling you, I know it's got to be me that needs to reach out, and I try to call him once a week. I know I miss, and I know she feels mad at me because I don't call, but it's me that got to reach out, because in their mind, once again, this is the talk I had with them. That's what made me come to maybe that was my dad too. Is that we know you guys have your life, and we don't want to be a burden to you. We don't call, even though we tell them, hey, just call. But there's times where I'm at work, I call you back. Well, now they thinking it's a burden. So, and that's what kind of helped me. And this is years later. This is probably 30 something, and realizing, that's probably what happened with my dad. And so it wasn't the talk with my dad. It was just, and looking back on my dad, at any time I could have called, and any time he would have came over. Because as soon as I called about Tommy, he came over. If we called for anything, he was there. Like when I say events after school, events we couldn't go to, you know how they have assemblies, and they want a parent there. It will be him. He'll be our representative. This is elementary. Grandfather Day, he was happy to be there. Hey Dad, it's raining today, can you go pick him up? Out of the blue, he was just, all right, I'll be there. So looking back at all that, it was me. I was the issue. I was the one that wasn't. I held some type of animosity or something, and I shouldn't have.
Wow. As you're talking, you're making me dive deep into my relationship with my dad just as you're talking. And, I'm still dealing with the process of trying to forgive my dad. But you said something interesting that really resonated with me, and that was, it was all you. And when I think back to if I ever have an issue with my car, or I need something moved, or I call him, he's there. And I guess I have to give him more credit instead of always focusing on the hurt.
Yeah.
That he does show up. So, wow, that's going to be something definitely to take with me in journey and to sit with in meditation, and then just over the next couple of weeks that, maybe it's just all me. Maybe I'm still that broken kid inside.
Yeah.
That's still holding on to that pain and resentment.
Yeah.
But it's,
and that's part of that ego.
It's ego.
It's part of that ego that we hold on, and and this is with our kids too. When I'm wrong a lot. When giving advice to my kids or something, and I gotta call them up and eat that humble pie, man. I gotta go, and now I do it. Hey Tommy, man, I apologize. He goes, Dad, I know. He goes, I know. I know you're in your feelings, so I knew you're gonna call me and apologize. I said, yeah. But sometimes we have to do that as parents. The to let them know, hey, we can humble ourselves, because now I'm teaching him he could do the same. Or teaching your daughter, hey, you could, if you go ahead and say, hey, this is, I'm apologizing for this, blah, 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 whatever it is. And that's just, you've been an example, and they're learning from you. They're even at the age, because my kids are now are, probably the age is wrong. 25 and 26. Khalil's not 24 yet, but he will be. Or he's not 25 yet, but he will be. Even at this age, they're still learning from us. There's still things we got to teach. Still things we got to show them by our actions, mainly.
I love that, by our actions.
Yeah.
So let's talk about anything else you want to expand on that before we go into the next?
Ahead.
Okay. Let's talk about how sports played a role in your children's lives, because I know you were very active. You were a coach with wrestling. I think you did some stuff with football. You were always involved, like I said, with kids wrestling.
Yeah.
So I know sports was a foundation of you as a father. Mm-hmm. Not even before you were a father, but just as you were growing up. How did sports shape the upbringing of your children, and then how did it impact your relationship with your kids, and the good and the bad? Because
sports shape. Let's put in. I'm gonna just start with me.
Absolutely.
For me, sports shape work ethic. Teamwork, the ability to get through something that's hard, and to keep working at something you're not good at. So then, me with sports, because I knew it kept me out of trouble. My friends and I, it kept us out of trouble. There's a lot of things we could have been into that we weren't, partly because of sports. So now me having kids, my philosophy was to keep them busy. And part of the keep them busy was I put them in every sport possible, soccer, every that I can afford. So every community thing, they were in swimming. When they were really young, they learned how to swim young. Put them in soccer, basketball, baseball. If I could, I wish I would have put them in tennis. Just put them in everything. And then, because to me, it instilled that authority figure. Because each one had a different style of coaching. And so you're going to have coaches that yell at you. You're going to have people that yell at you at your work. You're going to have people that you got to deal with. And it teaches you how to deal with those people. Teaches you how to deal with authority. So our philosophy, and my wife was, she had my back 100%, was keep them busy. So we had to work. So our kids, they were kind of latchkey kids, because they, even though granddad would come, but he wasn't coming every day. So they would have to get themselves in the house at a young age at elementary. And they will come home, have their chores or homework. It is, to me, it instills discipline. Go back on the different authority figure. You have that coach that will yell and scream. Then you have that real nice coach. So they're able to deal with both of them. My kid, later on, when they're is it high school? I think it was high school. They kind of had because I don't cuss around my kids. The music there was no cussing in music, but don't get me wrong, my kids listen to music, to the unedited music, away from me, but they weren't going to get it from me. When we went to the barbershop, I can't control the environment, right? And I don't tell people, hey man, stop cussing my kid here. I just, hey, my kids got to hear it, but they got to know is that switching. They got to know, hey, there's environments you could do that at. So anyway, so they were really shocked by one coach. He was cussing, he was in their face, but they responded. And Coach Joe, he was probably the first one that got in Tommy's face and grabbed him by his shirt. And then I was like, as a dad, I was starting to get pissed. But then I looked at what he got out of my son. Like, oh, okay, let me sit back. Because it wasn't out of anger. It was out of, I call it love, to get the best out of the kids. Wow. You know, and that's sometimes as parents, nowadays you get parents that want to be so protective. Oh, you can't yell at my kid. You can't yell at, well, why not? You put him in that sport. You want him to do better. He's got to, you know, even if it's and I can't do it to education, but to me, you got to put them around different types of people so they can learn how to deal with those types. Fast forward to Khalil in college, he had a coach that cussed a lot, get in their face, call them out. That was the best year to me, as looking in, he said it wasn't, but I'm like, dude, you guys kicked butt. I can't believe what you guys, as at your group, you guys are really physical. And so to me, let me revert back to the sports. That's the reason why, the discipline mainly. So, and I always say, and that's what I tell my friends, make sure your kids are active in sports, make sure they're doing something, because when they get fat, when they're older, they'll know how to lose it. You know what I mean?
Love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. You know, wow. That really put a whole different perspective on things, because I was one of those overprotective parents and just like, oh, you can't do that. You can't yell at my kids and so forth. But now looking at it, how you just stood back and you just allowed them to learn from it. You know, I honestly believe that in this day and age, we as parents have weakened our children.
Yes.
Because we're so quick to come to to save them. But they do need that tough love, that old school, like when we grew up, you know, and it was more hands-on and a little more physical. Not to that extreme, but just to know that when you looked at the different coaching styles, you know that it was to bring out the best in them. So that's powerful. And I'm definitely going to want to really expand on that message with the clips and so forth. Let me ask you a question. Who, because you were involved in so many sports, who would have been the coach that really helped you to shape your character? Was there a coach that stood out?
Jack Cooprider.
Jack Cooprider, okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
tell us about that.
He was my wrestling coach. Freshman year, Jack. Well, he was actually football. He's an equipment manager and head wrestling coach at Diamond Bar for years. Just watching him and how he treated kids, he's always had their best interests in mind in everything he does or did. He would make sure you're okay, but yell at you at the same time. You know what I mean? If you're doing something wrong. He will keep you accountable, make you accountable. He was the type of coach that wasn't going to let anything slide. He was one of those coaches you didn't want to disappoint him. So I treat him like he was my second parent, you know, because his wife, Phyllis, which I didn't know until later, she was my elementary teacher. Wow. You know, and I never put the two together until we go to dinner for wrestling. And I'm like, we call her Ma. Ma? Or no, we call it Fia. Fia? Jack? So we never put it together.
Wow.
So yeah, they were very influential in who I am today. They're always there for me. Jack, when it comes to coaching, so I coached wrestling for 4 years there. I coach football as well, JV. And I coach wrestling with him. Now I'm his assistant coach. We coached together for 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And he taught me how to coach, how to make kids accountable, how to have fun doing something hard. He molded my coaching style, even my parenting. He didn't like the fact that I always played around with my kids constantly. Like if my kids were walking, I would trip them.
Wow.
He would go, stop doing that. But yeah, he was a good coach. He was my mentor.
Wow. Is it fair to say that as you were growing up with your kids, you were also a kid inside?
Oh yeah, I'm still a kid. Especially around them. I'm still that. We still play around. We wrestle, but I can't wrestle like I used to because things hurt, and I have to tell them stop. Hey man, my back hurt. Tommy more than Khalil, but sometimes Khalil gets in this mood where he wants to jump on me too in public. So we'll just picture us walking, and then all of a sudden a grown man is jumping on me, and it's just us. It's just who we are together. We always play around. So yeah, I'm a kid.
Wow. And it's unfortunate that a lot of fathers, they lose touch with their little selves.
Yeah.
And I've always been a strong proponent that you should never give up that little kid inside.
No.
You should always just, play around and joke. And so do you feel that by being a kid with them, that impacted your relationship with them? With keeping it together, connected? Or
Yeah, being that kid with them, being able to understand my music became their music, just the edited version of it. Were to the point to where my friends like, you listen to that? I go, yeah, what my kids listen to. I got social media because if they had social media, I would do my checks. And so why do you have social media? I tell my friends, you better get it. If you're going to allow your kid to have a phone and they have social media, you better be checking. I want to touch on this real quick. So my mom and my dad, they were not affectionate, meaning showing hugs, showing kisses, all that. There was none of that. My mom, yeah, but not that much. Saying I love you, you ain't gonna hear it. Especially from my dad. Even my dad's best friend, is Harvey Nicks. I talk to him probably every other day, especially when it comes to sports. On Saturday, I got the phone here on speaker. Hey, you see that play? So keep that contact with each other. And one day I said I love you, and he goes, "Stop that! I don't need to hear that. I ain't dying. I don't need to hear that." So I'm saying this, and this is what I try to tell friends that have kids. Show affection to your kids. My kids is hugs and kisses. When you see them, hugs and kisses. My niece, and she was a volleyball player, NAU. They're not affectionate on that. My brother's kids aren't affectionate. Oh, but Uncle Tommy is. Every time I see her, she used to look around like this is in college. She's just finished her volleyball game. They're on TV. I'll give her a hug and give her a kiss. And she'd be like that every time. I said, Brittany, stop. I used to grab her head and used to make a big scene of it. Then finally, she got to the point of where, and now it's normal. So with my kids, they know, you better give me a hug. I'm gonna give my kids, even though Khalil after the football game, I give him in front of everybody, give him a hug, give him a kiss on the cheek. He be like, but he keeps his face there. He don't pull away anymore. I think that's a dynamic that we're losing, that the affection part. When Khalil was in elementary, you know, how kids, they kind of don't want to kiss you anymore. They don't want to give you a hug in front of everybody. Khalil's always going to remember because, all right, you didn't want to give me a kiss or a hug. He jumped out of the car and left, right? No, I walked. So he's, all right, Dad, bye. So he walked in. I let everybody go in. I sat there. I signed myself in. I went to his class. I said, hey, I need to talk to Khalil. No, the teacher said, hey, Mr. Dorsey, can I help you? I said, I need to talk to Khalil. He didn't give me a kiss goodbye. And she goes, what? Go and give her in front of the whole class. He had to come and give his dad a kiss goodbye.
Wow.
Never had a problem after that. So to this day, my kids know, come and give me a hug and kiss. And they know to do it to other people too. Hey, give them a hug, kiss. We don't have to say anything. My kids do it. It's the hug and kiss. I got one kid, which is Khalil. He don't like to, but I've always tell him, watch what you wish for. That non-touching, non-affection, that's not a good thing. I said, God made us to be. Reason why Eve was created so we wouldn't be alone. We gotta have each other. So why not have that touch? Why not touch sometimes? 'Cause he would have a girlfriend that he wouldn't want to touch her. He had this like he didn't like affection all the time. I said, dude, if she wanted to be affectionate, let her have it. Get away from yourself. Stop you being that person. You know, you're gonna miss it when it's not there. And so he's gotten a lot better. But yeah, that was my message. Make sure hug and kisses.
that really grabs at my heart because I surrendered to my kids when they were in junior high school with hugs and kisses and stuff. And so I just wanted to respect the boundaries because, I didn't want them to feel embarrassed. But I never got that back. So it's been a challenge to try to get a hug now or a kiss. So I love that message of just don't stop hugging and kissing your kids because once you lose it, trying to get it back, especially as they get older, it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
Wow. So sports has played a role in your family. And did you coach your kids growing up?
I coached my kids in basketball, which I knew nothing about, in wrestling, and to the point to where it's above me, meaning I like basketball, I didn't know nothing about, but I had, as a parent, they needed somebody, so I did. Until my kids didn't. Have you ever? I was gonna say, have you ever tried coaching your kids?
No.
So, being a dad coach, sometimes you're gonna get that kid that always argue with you, that doesn't take your coaching. Like even in wrestling, when my kids were crawling on a mat in the wrestling room. They were there, and then when they got older, they started telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. Dad, no, you don't do it this way. I'm like, what are you? So I had to learn to give my kids to somebody else, to just drop them off. All right, here you go. Step back. I was really involved. Like at a certain age, I was really involved. And then I know I had to step back because, that living through them, yelling at them, I was like, let me step back. Now, at a certain age, so when it got to high school, it was all them. I was never involved. It was all, hey, the school got them. I'll just, if you want training, I'll find somebody to get, and that's what God put a lot of people in place for my kids, for me to raise my kids. He puts you in place when we wouldn't set with Khalil, he's changed some things because of you. So God has put people in place. So yeah, that was a struggle at first, and me trying to find out how to be that parent, the parent that I don't want to be. The one that's constantly yelling, "Oh, you're not doing this good enough." So my advice to people, because it was given, a dad pulled me to a side, and he said, "Hey, be a fan. Be a fan. No matter what your kid did on that court, I don't care if he sat down the whole time. He comes off and he sees you, give him that high five and say, you had the best game you ever had. Even though he sucks." It hit me hard when he said that. And so I started that, all right, let me try that. And I noticed my kids had their confidence a little bit better. Now, fast forward, now I was in middle school that I got that advice. Because I was at that yelling and getting upset. Then I had to realize I could yell and get upset in the stands, but not with them.
Wow.
Get upset here by myself. I try to sit away from Lucy and everybody else. Because in my mind, I'm just struggling. But once he got off, I take a deep breath. And I wasn't perfect at it, but this is what I had to try to do. Oh, man, good game. Good job. Fast forward to high school, where I'm really stepped back. I don't get involved. I don't talk to coaches. I was one of those parents, don't talk to coaches. Don't do any of that. Tommy, get off the field, he wants to know, all right, Dad, what do you think? Because I would say good game. He goes, all right, Dad, what do you really think? What do you think? All right. So then that's when I could let go. Khalil, nothing. Get off the court, get off the field. Hey, where we eating at? He don't want to talk about nothing. Even to this day, he just, all right, cool. Because that's him. And I have to, each kid, it's different. Like, even when you raise them, it's a little bit different. Like, anyway, it's different. So yeah, that's what the kids is. I forgot the topic we were on.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, especially how you just put into context about just how you raised your two kids differently. You had to balance it out. But also what I find intriguing is that you were such a hands-on coach and always around kids. And then when you got to high school, you just stepped back and just allowed them to do what they do, which I would have expected the opposite, that you'd be more in it, but let them grow and learn.
I had to. And it really started in middle school. Because now they got to start making choices which way they want to go, what sports they want to do. Our thing was you have to be you're not coming home after school. When we're at work, you're not coming home by yourself and doing nothing.
I love that.
It's high school, right? So many things they could get into. You better be at a practice. You better be at a chess club. You better be something. And but they made choices. They chose to play basketball. Football, basketball, and track. That was their choice. We didn't force them into do it. And they made choices to whatever we can afford is get training. I want this training, and so we did the best we can to get them that training. And when they were able to drive, they'll drive themselves to the training. It wasn't us forcing anything on them. So I knew if I would have stayed active with them, as in on them constantly, being a coach constantly, I knew that I would have deterred them. Maybe I'm using the wrong word.
Probably hindered their growth.
Hindered their growth. Yes, exactly. I would have hindered them. They would have probably resented me. And I've seen that as a coach. I seen a dad. You got a kid that's good at wrestling, and because the dad wrestled, now his dad coaches with us. And you're like, man, I don't even know if this is a good idea, because now you can see the dad and the kid arguing a lot, and so I knew I had to step back at a certain age.
Wow, and that's, it's funny you bring that up, because a lot of parents whose children follow in their footsteps, they live out their dreams and aspirations through their children, and because of that, it can really sever the relationship. And you've seen it. I've also seen it. Not really being too involved in sports, but just the after effects of it and the damage that it causes. And I've seen kids that were good at sports, or I was told they were good, and they walked away from it.
Yeah.
They walked away because their father constantly meddling, or always, you're not living up to the expectations. But it really wasn't the kid. It was a father never lived up to their expectations, so they were living through the eyes of their child.
Either the child.
So,
so the dad that spoke to me, he had a phenom daughter, and I think it was tennis. And I'm like, excuse me if I get the sport wrong.
yeah.
I'm gonna just say it was tennis. She was really good. Had a scholarship ready at sophomore year. Had a scholarship ready. No, it was basketball. My bad. Basketball. She had a scholarship ready sophomore year. She had all these schools. She's been to all these events. She gets to her junior year. She quits. Junior year is the most important year for college scholarships. The junior year. She quits. You know what she said? Because of you, Dad.
Wow.
Yes. And so with his son, he learned to be a fan. And that's when he gave me that advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The other thing that you said that resonated was that when your kids needed training, you got them the training. Even if you sometimes struggled, didn't have the money, but tell me what brought that on, that you're going to prepare your children to be the best that they could be within the abilities of a budget in a family.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Or
That came early. It mainly came from basketball, where they had friends who was in travel ball.
Okay.
Then they had friends who was doing this training. It's like, all right, so we'll get it, and then they got older. It's funny because Tommy always wanted basketball training, and he did football, and I remember saying this prayer. This is before Tommy's going to be freshman in high school, the summer year, going to a freshman year. Ask God to give me somebody that's been through it and I could talk to him. Because I haven't been through it on another level. Somebody that could train him and, kind of be a role model for him. So I'm at work and I'm telling the story of my kids and, dang, I need training. And the guy goes, hey, I'll train him. I said, you going to train him? You're a big dude. And he goes, I'll train him. He goes, I'll train him. And so then I asked his background. He goes, well, played at USC with Lion when he has a national championship ring with them and all that. I was like, who are you? And so Daniel Urquhart, we're good friends to this day. We met up at the park. He trained kids for free. Tommy's goal was to make varsity his freshman year, and he did because of Urquhart. And that's another thing. It's funny, God put people in place, to give you blessings. Hey, here you go. He answers a prayer. And he was one that one day I drop him off, because I was always dropping him off. Sometimes I would stay. Sometimes I'll leave and go do my thing, because I didn't want them to keep looking at me for approval. You got to get approval from your coach, So I get Tommy, I pick up Tommy, and I'm like, Tommy had his the face is like kind of shocked face. Well, kind of find out, Urquhart yelled at him, put his helmet on, yelled at him, cussed at him, everything. And I said, okay, how did you do? He goes, I was fine. I go, but Dad, he put his helmet on. He put his gear on. He goes, I was scared. I said, okay, so what happened? He said, no, he was just coaching. It's funny because I just had a podcast with him, and he tells that story, and he goes, man, I really got into, he said, I have to apologize because I remember that once I put on the gear, I really got into football mode. But he was trying to tell Tommy what he was trying to show is football is a violent sport. Everything that you do is violent. Even if you're just running off the line because he was a receiver, you just got to do it violently. And if you're going to go through, you got to go through somebody. You got to do it violently. So that's what he's trying to show. So yeah, it's just the training. It started there, and then so now they get to high school, and they do football, basketball, and track. Well, Tommy wanted basketball training the whole time. He wanted to go to basketball training. All right, so we find somebody. First was at West Wind. Coach Cooper had a free session, so we did that session. Well, then, all right, want to get higher level, so we kind of had to pay. Coach Joe was really great because he was doing it for free as well. So then there was times where we had to pay. Starting his junior year, we started having to pay for the basketball. He wanted basketball all the time. Khalil, because there was a little, we started seeing some things with Khalil when it came to track. Actually, no, it's before that. Before we even saw it, because we got Tommy in it too. We got him track training. Because that's my wife's sport, is track. And so she's like, hey, so we did. We got him in training for that. Come to find out, Khalil was really fast. We didn't know. We knew, but didn't know. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just, you figure. You just, So come to find out he was really fast. Really, he wound up really good at it. He took 5th 2 times in a row in state in the hurdles. And his long jumps at that time was top 10 in the state. Should have been top 5 if he didn't scratch, if he didn't default. But we didn't know, like I said. But we got him this training. Then we had to get him I forgot his name. He's gonna be mad. But anyway, we got him a long jump coach that noticed that he was fast too, so he started working on his speed and all that. Then fast forward, I was like, oh, he's really might be. We might have to go a little bit one step higher. So I called up somebody, Keith. Keith got me in touch with somebody, and that was history. Daryl and Leonard Hudson, they came in their life, and Eddie, when I tell you, there's times, and I'm spending money on it, that they would just talk to Khalil, just talk to him. I just spent money for this session, and he talked to him for 20 minutes. But man, when I saw my kid walk up and his chest up high and the way he walked, I was like, oh crap, he's building confidence. He didn't need to train, he's building confidence. And it's just amazing when you get the right people in your kids' lives and what they can bring out of them. That, what they can achieve. And it's not always going to be you. It's going to be somebody else. So that the training, man, is just, it's gravy.
Wow. And I remember a time they were still working together when they were going through school, and we were starting to get clips of them and stuff. So
Yeah.
So they were moving into a whole different level. So now they got the training and they're evolving. So what does that look like? Now they're evolving into, at a fast pace, and what's the outcome? So Because there's some exciting things that happen.
Yeah. So the outcome with them was, or is they Khalil got let's start with Tommy. Tommy went to a Division III school, was able to play out there with because they can only give you Division III can only give you academic scholarships, so they gave him one and he was able to play football up there in Cornell in Iowa. Spent one year there. Was it 4 year? Spent 1 year there. Then he came back because football is different at a Division III than it is Division I. So he goes to Mount Sac and goes there. Now Khalil gets a full ride to Northern Arizona. He follows his other 3 cousins who went up there to go to school. He gets a full ride for football, and they allowed him to run track. Then fast forward, Khalil convinced his brother, because his brother now wants to leave Mount Sac and go play at another level. Convinced his brother to go up there. They gave Tommy a partial scholarship to play Division I as well. Football. And Khalil, as a corner, his freshman year, he winds up starting at NAU after the 3rd game, I believe. He winds up starting, doing really well. I gotta and you gotta remember I know you don't know the positions, but he's 5'7", 5'8", around there. He gets mad at me that I say his size all the time, the height, and the reason why I say it because I think it's more of an inspiration for others. That no matter what, long as you could do anything. And hopefully, he realizes that the reason why I say, even though I'll tell him, he gets mad still. He winds up doing well all 4 years. His brother doesn't get a lot of playing time, but he plays. They graduate college. So we have 4 Dorseys, which we were building. We're getting a foundation called the Dorsey 5 that we give back to the college. Shout out to Brandon, Justin, Brittany. Justin started it all. So anyway, we go up there. They both graduate. Tommy gets his master's from there. And now he's at St. John's University in their sports management program as a GA, graduate assistant. So he'll get his master's in sports management. He wants to be a strength coach or I told him you could probably go higher than that, with your degrees. So he's found his passion. God has answered prayers. He's found his passion, and he's working on it no matter how bad his living situation is. He's making it happen. One thing I had to tell him before he leave is don't let anybody discourage you from following your passion, even if it's us. Because we're going to go, man, that's not a good situation for you. Man, you got student loans you got to pay for. You got this. We're going to do all the negatives as parents. But keep moving forward because God wants you to move forward. So he knows we say our piece, and he's got to keep moving forward because he has to make his decisions. Khalil, his journey a little bit different. He just got a diploma over the summer. He just finished college over the summer. Once he left NAU, he got picked up by the Baltimore Ravens with them for 2 years. He was injured both years, but he was still on the team. Went to the Giants, got on there, went through their camp. Right before their camp ended, they cut him. So then he was in limbo for a bit, trying to figure out what he was going to do. Wasn't sure. He was still training. Got picked up by the Detroit Lions last year. 6 games left into the year last year on the practice squad. Now fast forward to this year, he made the team for the Detroit Lions. So he's on the Detroit Lions. He got injured, he got sick. So now he's out for 4 games. It's not injuries. He's sick. So he's out for 4 games. God willing, he'll be back after the 4 games. And as a parent, people ask us, man, you got to be so proud. You guys did such a great job. It's not me. It's God. Because I know where they could go. We know. We've worked with Continuation High School. We've seen people go to prison. We see people go to jail. We see people get addicted. We know what it's so. I always say it's not me. I give God the glory because he gave them the work ethic to keep pushing no matter what the naysayers. Because when Khalil was in track, they told him he was too short. Told him too short to go over the hurdles. He didn't care. He was at one time he had the fastest time in the state. So, I mean, he took 5th, and then he goes to college. Oh, you're too short to run. You're too short to run hurdles, the high hurdles in college, because the hurdles are a little bit taller. He went and took 3rd in the conference his freshman year. He placed every year. Oh, you're too short to play that position in football. You know, you're too short. There's your size. Look at you. He's doing it. He goes to NFL. He came from a small school. You didn't play anybody. You're not that good. He makes a team for Baltimore's. So I give God the glory. You know, he put it in us to instill a foundation, and then he gives us choices, and he gave them choices. Either, hey, here's a foundation, come to me, I'll give you some guidance, and you just gotta take that guidance. One thing, my kids, and I don't drink, never smoked, never done anything like that. My kids don't. So, being in college, I always told them it's not a sin. You could drink. Go ahead. No, I never stopped anybody. My wife drinks. If you need a drink, take a drink. And they're always saying, no, Dad, no. So me, I'm always skeptical because you know what type of work we used to do in the continuation high school. we saw the kids, so I'm always skeptical. Well, my wife and I would go do a visit. Lucy and I go do a visit at the college. We get kids coming up to us. Man, I like your kids. They drive us around. They're my designated driver. This is non-solicited. This is just. We come up, hey, Mr. Dorsey, Mr. and Mrs. Dorsey, and they would tell us this. I'm like, wow. Fast forward to NFL. I get Khalil. He's calling me, odd time. Hey, Dad, you know what I'm driving? I'm driving the Tesla Plaid. He said, this thing's fast. I said, what are you doing? He goes, they're drunk. So it just, it's all God, man. God has just blessed those two. He's blessed our family, blessed us with people like you that's around, that give good advice. And he's blessed us.
Wow, this has been beautiful. As we start to wrap up, I want to definitely you to share more about friends giving back, but one day I do want to go to a game, so I look forward to a speedy recovery. And one day I want you to take, even though I won't know what the hell's going on, and I won't bring magazines because I'm infamous for bringing magazines when I've gone to a baseball game. But one day I want you to invite me to a game.
Gotcha.
And I'd love to go out there and just, especially because I remember them as kids.
Yeah.
So I would love to go out there and experience that. So I'm gonna hold you guys to that.
Gotcha.
One day I get invited to Uncle Eddie gets invited to a game. Then you can tell me how all these men running around and touching each other, trying to knock each other down. What it all means. So hey,
Got you.
touchdown, goal, basket, whatever.
Whatever it is. Huh?
So Friendsgiving Back. Friendsgiving Back is a nonprofit that you founded probably more than 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I remember back when we were working together,
Yeah.
back at the school district. And I know your heart and passion has always been for giving back and so forth. And if you can expand a little bit on Friendsgiving Back and where that came from and what you're doing with it, and then expand a little bit more on how you're talking about the
Dorsey 5.
Dorsey 5.
Yeah,
yes.
it was
If you
part
can
of
expand-
Friendsgiving Back.
Yes.
So, Friendsgiving Back started at Del Paso
Del Paso Continuation School.
Continuation School. So
yes.
I got it from, and it's gonna sound bad. I don't even know. All right, I'm gonna say it. 9/11. So we were at that time. Teachers were giving a lot of money. There's a lot of money going to the 9/11. I understand it. There's teachers complaining about homeless in their neighborhood, and they went to 7-Eleven and they stepped over the homeless to get their coffee because she did it every morning, but she complained about their homeless. But she, at the same time, she's giving money to another foundation that's not in her home. So Friendsgiving Back came from that where hey, give to your community. Strengthen your community first before you go out somewhere else and strengthen your community. I know we're not going to get rid of homeless, but my thing is we give the kids. We give the kids at an elementary level, give the kids and their family. Whatever their family does is whatever, but I want to give to that kid. Make sure that they're not hungry. If they need school supplies, they need clothing, whatever is in need. If they need my kids don't have enough money to go for a field trip, give them that. But it's in our community. So that's where that came from. And what we do in the community is we do just that. I used to do a lot more. It used to be a monthly thing where I used to get gift certificates. Let's go out and hand them out, mainly at community centers, because they know the community better than I do. They know who's hungry. They know who's had an issue. I used to have a good contact with an elementary school nurse. One year we get a call because the parents, they lost in the fire. They lost everything. So I got a group of my friends, because this is a Friendsgiving Back. Got a group of my friends. Hey, got this family that needs everything, and they came through. So what we do now, hopefully, God willing, we'll do on a bigger scale, is we do more of the Thanksgiving and Christmas, where we actually give out dinners. So if you say you're going to give to a family, I ask you to give out the whole dinner. And so we're not able to touch as many families, but we're able to touch a whole family. So, sometimes, hey, just a turkey, just this. But we ask for the whole dinner. So last year was the most we've ever done. I think it was about 38 families were able to actually a whole dinner, like everything, with the fixings. Christmas, we do the same thing. We don't just hand out toys, because we've been doing this for a while. We used to hand out toys, right? You have them get in line, hey, come in and get the toy. No matter what, if the kid wanted it or not, hey, here's your toy. So Johnny Thompson got me started on that one. So we started looking at the faces of the kids when they open up the gifts and and then sometimes, because we'll do it at the community center, and sometimes they'll leave and leave their toy there. So now I ask for a list, give me clothing size, and maybe 3 or 4 of their favorite toys. Or just give me a list of toys. We'll get 3 or 4 of those. So I ask, if you're going to give to a family or give to a kid, I ask that you give 3 tops, 2 bottoms, shirts, pants, and if you want shoes or not, If you want to buy them shoes, you can. But then at least 3 toys. No electronics. So now when the kids open that gift, it's something that was on that list. So they go home with it. So we do that. We've been doing that, like you said, for 20 years. I am in the process, and I keep saying it, of making it a legit 501c, because now all the Dorsey kids have their degree now. And we gave back to the NAU athletics, because they really took care of my kids. Even though my kids got, even though they would say, no, we don't need, but then when they really look back, they go, oh yeah, they did take care of us, So got together with the kids, and they all agreed, let's start giving out, let's start giving back every year. And so that's what we're doing with the Dorsey 5, is giving back. There's going to be a write-up on them coming up in October, which is a very beautiful thing. I told my brother I would like to make it bigger, to where we're giving, right now we're only able to give 3. Hopefully one of these years, God willing, we'll get to, I'm going to be crazy and get to 100,000, where you're paying for a kid full year, or multiple kids here and there, 20,000 here and there. But that's going to take time. And then with Friends Giving Back, I want to get it to where we're giving out something each month, where it's groceries, clothing, and then for kids with scholarships, I would love to get that going with them, with Friends Giving Back scholarships in the community. I would really love to get kids to do more college visits, or do more college visits, or if they're not in college, not interested in college, to have something out there to where, hey, let's get them, what's their passion, whatever their passion is, find something. Hey, let's get you going. Let's get you a trip to there, where somebody could be a mentor, business mentor, or something like that. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Wow. And if they want to contact you for Friends Giving Back, or donate, or even offer their services to turn the organization into a 501c3, how can they get a hold of Friends Giving Back?
Right now I'm on Instagram, Friends Giving Back on Instagram. If you DM me, I'll get back to you. I don't want to give out my information right now, but because we're not really set up, which I probably need to do more, like get a Google number or something like that, to do that. But yeah, just I'm on Instagram, Friends Giving Back. Just DM me there, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, and you can also message us, and we can reach out to you. And then just for this year, like I said, definitely include us, the Fatherhood Voices. We know we're coming up on Thanksgiving and Christmas, so definitely in alignment with this new journey that we're on. Any closing thoughts? This has been a powerful, and the one thing that continues to resonate is just mentors. Yeah. Mentors not only in business, but just in coaching, and you really inspired me to start to reach out to people that have different expertises to give back, because like you said, people showed up and agreed to volunteer to help your kids, and they excelled, and so just the power of just coaches and mentors, and what it can do for not only the children but for the families, and how it can change the dynamics. So
it's that community.
It's community.
Community
we're all
building.
one. We're all just love.
Yes.
So any closing thoughts as we start to wrap up this beautiful podcast?
Shoot, man, I have my closing thought is, we parent in stages. Meaning you're the parent when they're young, in the middle, as babies, and we change when they get to elementary. We got to change it when they get to high school. Then the more they grow up, we got to start backing off, but be in, if you know what I mean. That's that affection, still be there. Don't give up on them. Even though they push back, still be there. And then as adults, we're still parents. We're still there. But we got to let them make their choices. We got to say our piece, so to speak. Like I told Tommy, we're going to say our piece. and tell Khalil, I'm gonna say my piece, but you got to make the ultimate decision. We got to learn to let go. At the same time, being there, but we got to learn to let go and be, because God got them. If you lay the foundation, if you're there, present, be present while they're there, they'll be fine.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. This has been another powerful episode of Fatherhood Voices, and just watching Tommy's path as he struggled with the separation of his parents, and then also learning how to love his son, and then eventually sons, and then the reconnection with his father, and just the pains of growing in sports and coaching and training, mentoring, with the foundation of God at the center of it all, the pillar, and be thankful and graceful. Beautiful episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.